Hey team, we're back again in Transaction Desk, and today we're going to be focusing on clauses. Now, when adding a clause to your transaction desk, you want to make sure you always check with your broker first. They may have the brokerage attorney review the clause before it can be utilized on your forms in your special stipulations. Remember, you are not an attorney, and therefore you cannot write legal verbiage for the agreement or amendments and addendums. Let's go ahead and get started with adding in new clauses. On the upper left-hand side, let's open up your toolbar and head on down into clauses. From here, you're going to be given an option for personal clauses, office clauses, or system clauses. In our case, for system clauses, you will be able to find all of the pre-written clauses from the Tennessee Realtors attorneys. You can also find these on your RF 707, which is the additional contract language. These clauses are really easy to use because this is like a plug and play. If you needed to utilize this first clause, you can use this in your forms by clicking in the stipulation box on the RF 401 or 403, along with any addendums or amendments, and you can select this clause and it will enter all of this information into the document for you. You can utilize the search bar on the upper right-hand corner to search for any clause that you need. For example, maybe this property is going to be contingent on the sale of a home. You can type in the word sale or any other key word, and it will filter the clauses for you based off of the words you've entered. In this case, we're looking for is contingent on the sale of a property. If I were to select this, I can then read and ensure that this is the most appropriate clause that I might need. All of the system clauses are locked in place. You do not want to make any modifications to these clauses. To go back to the previous folders, you can click the Back to Clause Folders button on the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and talk about personal clauses. When you click on personal clauses, you may or may not have some already in here. Notice I have folders as well as individual clauses listed for myself. Because there's only one silhouette, this is an agent clause. If I were to be in the office clause, there would be two silhouettes. And those are the clauses that are added in by the broker or super users. To create a clause, go to the upper right-hand corner and click on the Add button. This will give you the option to add a new clause or add a new folder. Well, why would you want to use one over the other? The Add Clause button allows you to add individual clauses. They may not be in a similar grouping. However, as you can see, I have a new construction folder here. And in the new construction folder, there are clauses that are specific to new construction. Let's add a clause by clicking the Add Plus button and selecting Add New Clause. From here, you'll want to give your clause a title, something that you will be reminded by when you need to utilize this in the future. Let's pretend that we're going to need a clause for cleaning. In the drop box below, this is the content or your copy and paste that you're going to need in the future. Enter in the text of the clause that you would like to utilize. You can use the formatting functions to create bulleted list, numbered list, or indent the text. You can also insert the hour, minute, or date placeholders as applicable. When the clause is used, the user is prompted to enter a value in any of those placeholders. Let's go ahead and add in our stipulation that we would like to include for this clause. If I were to say something in regards to needing a date and I want to insert the date, I can simply click Insert Date and it will add in the date here. When I go to use this clause in the future, it will prompt me to select the date. If you wanted to utilize your list mode, you could have that here. This might be something where you'll itemize requirements needed prior to the final inspection, or in Tennessee's case, you may list things for the repair completion deadline. When you're complete with your clause, you can click Save. This clause will now show up in your clauses list. When the clause is inserted into a field in the form, the user is going to be prompted of any values. So be reminded that if you insert a date or a time, you're going to need to be ready to insert that date and time. Let's work on adding in a clauses folder. Click on your Add Plus button and select Add New Folder. You can now name this folder as desired. When complete, click Save. You can now see your folder here. In order to add in additional clauses, you want to open up the folder and then simply create the clauses here within the folder. When complete, this clause will now live within the folder that was created here. If I wanted to remove this folder at any point in time to include all of its content, I can simply click on the three menu buttons and select Delete. If you need to rename the folder, you can click on Properties and Rename. Let's go ahead and head back into Office Clauses. Now, Office Clauses, as reminded, is going to have two silhouettes next to it, meaning a super user has created these, and it's available for the super user as well as all of the agents on the roster for them to use and view. These clauses are often approved by the office attorney. Let's go ahead and add these clauses into a document or a form. Head on into your transactions by clicking on your house. And if you don't have a training folder already, click on your Add Plus button and add one in just for today's purposes. Head on over into Forms and click Add Forms. I'm going to add in the purchase and sale agreement so that way we can get into the special stipulations. As I head on down into the special stipulations of this purchase agreement, I can click in the box below. It's going to light up green and give me a flag for Add Clauses. Once selected, it's going to give you the option to select from your personal, office, or system clauses. Let's add in our personal clause that we just created. Click your personal folder and select the one that you just created. Notice, because I selected that there was a date, it's asking me to prompt which date. Maybe this is due on this date. Once completed, it will enter in the data for me. If there was an error, I can simply change it here. However, when you make modifications on the form right here, it will not modify the clause. So if there's an error or you don't like the way that it's looking, you're going to need to go back into your clause and make the modifications within the clause itself. You can also add in system clauses. Let's go ahead and add in that sale of home contingency that we were using just a moment ago. When I click on the radio button and click Save, it enters in the clause for me. Now, these clauses are not to be modified other than the blank line that is selected for you. This is where you would place in the property address. Obviously, you would enter in all of the city, state, and zip code as applicable to the property, but we are not going to make any modifications to the rest of the clause because it stays with the clause to its entirety. When complete, you can go ahead and save this by using your file save, or you can simply click save and exit. If this form was ready to go into signings, you can also jump it over into Authenticign. That's how you make clauses, and I appreciate you guys for following along today. As always, if you have questions, let me know. See you at the next one.